One of the most important aspects to a computer game is a core gameplay loop. A core gameplay loop defines how the game's progression is completed through a repeated sequence of actions. A well-designed core gameplay loop usually means a well-designed game, as it keeps the player engaged to play more. In my game, the first thing that a player would do is to start a new world. Once they've loaded into a fresh game, the player can forage around for items and make some basic defences and a fire. Fire will be one of the main focuses in my game, as the whole environment is set in deep and dark outer space. Items are scattered around based on more noise patterns, different to land generation. Players can collect pebbles and throw them around, and the organisation is completely automatic and managed by the inventory system. The more items available to the player, the more new items the player can craft, opening up opportunities of new combat styles. Once the player is strong enough, they can claim a tile, allowing for settlement opportunities. In order to do all this though, I would first need to add some player and entity spawning rules. Beforehand, only the world generates with manually placed player. For implementation, I took all the previously defined noise thresholds and placing items where the values are not water or near the edge of a hill. These areas are free for the generator to scatter trees, pebbles, rocks and other decorations around. But before I could implement that, I need to drop some assets for the entities and items. Now this should have been simple and straightforward, but when I was programming the campfire, I ran into a bug that froze it with no explanation. The entire processing of it stopped, even if I forced it to process. Nothing. Turns out there's this little thing hiding in the Godot documentation that states an on-screen enabler 2D node must be toggled to visible to the editor, otherwise the issues arise. And this is where I'd like to ask if you can subscribe, like and comment any ideas. It's free and it would massively promote my videos in the YouTube algorithm. The first thing that the player needs to be able to do is to collect items. So I made an inventory system with categories and a basic user interface to show how the player can interact with different items. The inventory system works by passing data through a method in the player to detect what item has been collected, adding a value of 1 to an empty inventory slot if it does not exist already in the inventory, and increasing a counter if it does. The inventory system also sends the same item to the item selector at the bottom of the screen and checks its category to be organised into relevant groups. The player can then select a desired item in each category and use it accordingly. The majority of games use a sort of crafting system where resources go in and an item comes out. My game is no different, but I want to make it more interesting. Firstly, with basic generic crafting and then additionally more complex crafting systems for potions, buildings, item upgrades and other specialised tasks. The crafting system has a built-in database with all the different recipes for each item. When a recipe is hovered, the mini display adapts to what the craft costs. If confirmed, it uses a slightly modified method to insert into the player inventory. To finish off most of the gameplay loop, I need to be able to tell the game when a tile has been annexed. This will be focused on episode 6. To annex a tile, all enemies should be driven out by defeating many hordes of them. If the player owns a rare flag, the tile can be marked as annexed. But beware, for as long as the whole biome isn't fully annexed and the flag isn't protected, the tile can be reclaimed. Please look out for my next video where I completely revamp the player by adding a character creator with customised animations. Thanks for watching.